Alright, here we go. We're back with our third episode of Massive Darkness 2. We're painting Feydra, I think her name is. After construction, after a couple things done in the Nerd Night studio, we are back. As always, first off, I want to thank all my YouTube members for their awesome donations. You guys get first dibs of what you guys want to see painted, and we have some stuff coming up from Bard Song that someone's picked at first miniature, so stay tuned. If this is your first time at the channel, or if you're returning to watch another video, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss anything because we are going hard in the paint, pun intended. But without further ado, let's go. The first thing we're going to be doing is going to be scraping off all of those nasty mold lines. Now, these are your standard cool mini or not miniatures. They're not fantastic. They're not terrible. They're just bleh. But they got mold lines on them, so scrape them off. If you need any supplies, go ahead and hit those links below. Full disclosure, I do take about a half a penny for every sale transaction. So, you know, it is what it is. Take some sticky tack, put on some old spray can caps, and put your miniatures on top of that. I'm using an airbrush, and I'm using just black primer. You can use spray paint if you have it, but I'm just using black primer because it saves a ton of money over time because spray paint is expensive. Now, to save time, I'm using an airbrush because I'm trying to knock out as much as possible. You're going to be using Tuskgor Fur. Now, you don't necessarily need a spray paint or airbrush for this. And we're going to be spraying all over the red robe areas for our miniature. Now, this is a little wet, so I have to let it dry and then do a second coat. Once you're satisfied with your Tuskgor Fur, we're going to take some Wazdakka Red again in the airbrush. And again, you don't need an airbrush. This just makes it a lot easier. And we are going to spray it all over our top portions and a little bit underneath the robes on the back side. Once that area is dry, we're going to take some Carroburg Crimson. We're going to hit that entire red portion of our robes. Once that is dry, we're going to take some Khorne Red, and I'm only going to spray from above. Now, if you're just using your brush, just hit those above areas. Do not get into the recesses of our robe. We're just making this highlight just a little bit more on the top portion. So if you're looking at it from the front, then turn it around, it's going to be a two-tone red color, and that's what we're looking for. And to darken it up a little bit, we're going to take some of that Carroburg Crimson again, and we're just going to hit the cracks and crevices and the outlying areas just to make a little bit of depth in our robes. And that's all we're doing for the robes. Basically, pretty basic, if you know what I mean. And to start on our base coats, we're going to start with some Cadian Fleshtone. We're going to be painting the face and the hands, and that's all of our fleshy areas. Next, we're going to take some Iron Hand Steel, and we're going to be painting all of our metal areas. But when we do the shade part, we're only going to be putting shade on certain areas, so we're going to pay attention to that. We're going to be doing the blades, the hand guards, the leg guards, and a lot of the blades, arrow tips on the back side of our miniature. So just follow along and pay attention to where I am painting. For our pants, we're going to be doing some Mechanicus standard gray. This also includes the front portion of the miniature that has this little garb coming down from our rogue. For our mask, we're going to be doing some Abaddon Black. And to set up our precursor of our eyelids, we're going to be taking some white and putting that in the black eye slits. For our hair and quiver on the back, we're going to be doing some Rhinox Hide. If you want to paint some of the other brown bits on the back side, you can also use Rhinox Hide. There's no rhyme or reason for what kind of brown you want to use on the back. I'm just using 3 to 4 different browns just to kind of make a little tone variation of brown. For the front straps and the back straps on our quiver, we're going to use some XV88. You can also use this on some other portions of our sheaths and blades on the back side just to switch it up. You don't need to necessarily do what I'm doing, just something similar. For our arrow shafts, we're going to use some Mournfang Brown. And again, you can use this on looks like the crossbow area or the cannon crossbow. I don't know what it is on the very top back side of our rogue. For our metal areas on our cannon crossbow or whatever it is, we're going to use some Leadbelcher. And for the bowstring of our cannon crossbow, some Morghast Bone. We're also going to use this on the front portion on the inside of our rogue hooded area. As you can tell in the card art, there's some different colors on the inside, so we're just going to use this to make it that color look-alike. For the little portions on the front part, we're going to use some Steel Legion Drab. And to make our pre-black pupils, before we put on the shade, we're going to use some Abaddon Black, just put it in the middle. And I forgot to put this, so I did this right now. Some Gehenna's gold on the blade hilts, or the heaths, or the guards. I don't know what they are. And to start with our shades, we're going to be using Reikland Fleshshade in all of our flesh areas. Next, we're going to take some Nuln Oil and put it on our metal pieces. The only places we're not putting this Nuln Oil on is our blades on the front. We want to keep those as bright as possible. You can also not do them on the blades back as well if you want to. And finally, we're going to use some Agrax Earthshade in all of our brown areas. And while you're letting this entire area dry, head over to our Instagram, nerd.night, so you stay in the loop of everything we're doing, because I post on there almost daily. Now, if you're satisfied with the eyes, you don't need to do this specific step, but I'm going to take some white. I'm going to re-brighten up those eyeballs and then redo the black, as you'll see here in a second. I just wasn't that happy, but if you're happy with it, then keep it as is, and you can just kind of put a little touch up on those white areas and keep the black as is, but I went back and redid them, so it's up to you. To highlight up our skin, we're going to take our original base tone of Cadian Fleshtone, and we're going to put that onto our fleshy areas, obviously, and we're going to build up those highlights on the bridge of the nose, the cheekbones, the forehead, and the bottom of the chin, as you can see how I'm painting it. Next, we're going to take a 50-50 mix of Cadian Fleshtone and Kislev Flesh, and we are going to continue to build up those areas. Starting to put up our brightness on our lips, our cheekbones, bridge of our nose, bottom of the chin, and the forehead, and you can notice that that is brightening up very well. And finally, we're going to take some Kislev Flesh, some pure Kislev Flesh, and do those same areas, really focusing on the cheekbones, bottom of the chin, bridge of the nose, and the forehead, and putting maybe 1 to 2 layers of each spot to really brighten it up. To brighten up our washed metal areas, we're going to take some Ironbreaker, and we're really only going to be hitting the raised areas. You don't want to do the entire thing. You just want to make that tone variation of bright silver versus kind of dirty dark silver, and that's going to create that nice tone when you're looking at it. So for the front and the back side and the legs, just really focus on the topped raised areas. For our original Mournfang Brown areas, we're just going to hit it back up with Mournfang Brown. We're not doing nothing crazy with this. The focal point in this miniature is going to be our red robes and our face. That's what people are going to be looking at, and that's what people are going to focus on. Again, just a re-highlight up of XV88. And then some Morghast Bone re-highlighted up just a little bit on that inside and bowstring. Nothing crazy. We're not going overboard with this miniature. We're just really focusing on those robes as our focal point. And then finally, your favorite part of painting this miniature, the base, with black, because it means you're done. And that's it. Nothing crazy, nothing too outlandish. We're going to have those miniatures where it's going to take us more time, but not this one. This one's going to be a quicker one. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being a part of the Nerd Knights family and channel. I love hearing from you guys, seeing all your miniatures that you guys paint, because you guys send me a bunch on Instagram. Keep sending them. Keep contacting me on Instagram. If you guys have any questions, hit me up on IG. It's the quickest way to get a hold of me. And so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Paint on.